crypto, but maybe not outside. So, Teana, could you explain us what is, in very simple word, what is a fiat-pegged stablecoin? And after, Pablo, you will explain us what is a decentralized or an algorithm stablecoin, please.
Sure. Well, a stablecoin, as the name implies, and I have to be clear that there is stable in name only coins as well. But the concept is that the price does not go up or down. So, you know, I've been teased a lot this week about when my token is going to pump, and the answer is never. If it does, it's broken. So, essentially, a centralized fiat-backed stablecoin takes in dollars or euros. They're held in a bank account, and then a token is issued that is a representation of that unit of account. And then that token can move around, being a representation of fiat, and then can be redeemed one for one. So essentially, it is a digital dollar or a digital euro that can be used within the Web3 ecosystem. And people ask me all the time how it differs from a CBDC. And I think, one, we only have kind of one CBDC out there in the world today. But for me, the major difference is that most CBDCs that are being discussed aren't potentially going to be built on distributed ledger technology or a blockchain. And a stablecoin is inherently digitally native and integrated into blockchains.
CBDC is a e-euro or e-dollar issued by the central bank, and as you said, when it will be issued, if it will be issued, it will not necessarily will be on blockchain. It could be on other infrastructure.
I would say it's probably likely not to be issued on a blockchain.
So yeah, maybe to give a bit more perspective on stablecoins. So you mentioned fiat stablecoins, but the way I say it, it's crypto assets, which are designed to track a specific value. It doesn't have to be necessarily a fiat currency. We could have like a stable temperature. We could have a stable gold. We could have a stable US Treasury bill. And so it's really centralized finance TradFi assets that are wrapped under a crypto format. And so there is a way to do it in a centralized way, like companies owning the TradFi asset in their custody and issuing a tokenized version of it. Or there are like decentralized stablecoins, which job is to take crypto assets, strip away the volatility of these crypto assets to make something stable. And that's what we are doing with Angle, with AG Euro. We are backed by a wide range of different crypto assets, including USDC. And the protocol we have built and the protocol other decentralized stablecoin rely on all consist in removing the volatility, absorbing the volatility of these crypto assets to make something stable. So famous examples are DAI from Maker, the upcoming Go from Aave if it is voted positively by governance, and there are other like non-USD stablecoins. So for instance, Jarvis, it's another French DeFi protocol, and they make fiat-pegged stablecoins, but in a decentralized way, pegged to many different currencies in the world. But well, there are many different protocols, but yeah.
Thank you very much. A last question from a fake beginner as I am. It's what is the use of this stablecoin? What's the stablecoin I became so popular? So why there is so billion of dollars of stablecoin in circulation?
There is a very clear reason, and I think it goes back way before we started thinking about regulation on e-money. First, crypto traders a few years ago needed a way to go between fiat and crypto to make trades without coming back to legal currencies, because in most cases there is a tax consequence when you trade crypto against fiat. So basically that's why USDT at the time was created. So traders have a way on centralized exchange at the time to trade like BTC against the US dollar without having to have this issue of legal currency and bank accounts. So it's absolutely the reason. It's still the reason now in DeFi that stablecoins are used so much. It's because it's a way to trade, basically.
You want to add something, Teana?
Sure. I think in addition to the tax implications, one of the things that has changed pretty dramatically over the last 3 years, maybe, so USDC is about 4 years old, so maybe it's 4 years. Tether was born, I think, not just because of the tax implications, but also centralized exchanges couldn't get fiat on and off ramps. So it was really hard to even deposit and fund a centralized trading account. And if you have multiple accounts across multiple trading platforms and you're doing any kind of arbitrage trading across them, it was really difficult to request a bank transfer, wait 3 days, have your account funded, then you need to withdraw and move it to another exchange. It was just a mess. So I think that adds to, you know, some of the kind of withdrawal and deposit challenges. But equally, I think that when you look at DeFi and kind of more decentralized finance emerging use cases, people are now using them really for payments and as a settlement tool in addition to the trading activity.
So outside of the crypto ecosystem, like they can use, for instance, the UROC I mean, any form of stablecoin as a mean of payment with the advantages of the blockchain technology. Okay, very interesting. Samuel, we will give you the mic. Have you identified some risk attached to stablecoin? Is it something you have you want to talk about?
It's hard to think of risks in crypto, but I think we all witnessed the recent glorious crash of Luna, the Terra Luna, which was quite predictable several months ago, and even before that, people started talking about the expected crash of Luna. And there were some previous examples, Basis coin. And this is mostly associated with algorithmic stablecoins, which are essentially, I don't know if the word flawed is the right one, but I don't think there was still found a good mechanism for backing a reserve, backing your coin with a stabilized reserve, if you're not just sticking to one-to-one US dollar reserve like Circle does. It's very difficult to maintain what you are trying. It can be profitable if your reserve goes up, but very problematic if it goes the other way.
So I think the UST stablecoin, everyone knew it would fail. I mean, serious people knew it would fail for the list. Like Aave, it was not a collateral on Aave for this reason. But it's not because you are crypto-backed that you cannot be stable. And if the value of what is backing the stablecoin decreases, as long as you have good liquidation mechanisms that ensure that the value of the reserves remain superior to what has been issued, then there is not an issue. And like Maker has proven the resilience of DAI under like severe market conditions, heavily adversarial. So I still think that there is a way for decentralized stablecoins to exist and to keep their peg even in downturns. It's true that the effect of this is that the supply of the stablecoin tend to decrease, of decentralized stablecoin tend to decrease during market downturns, but it doesn't mean that these stablecoins are losing their peg. And on the other hand, since we were talking on the risk of decentralized stablecoins, there are also some big risks with centralized stablecoins, which are 1-1 backed. The main big risk is like censorship risk, a regulatory risk. Like I may own well, I won't speak for Circle, but Tether, for instance, they may own a USD at the bank, maybe not in a developed country, but they own USD at the bank, and the governments may have the power to censor their USD at the bank, or governments may also have the power to say, look, your stablecoin is illegal, I'm going to seize all your assets. So this is one big risk when you are dealing with centralized stablecoins. The other risk is that the centralized entity issues more than what it has in reserves. So in the end, I don't think it's a big risk because banks typically issue money in an under-collateralized form, and I don't think that the crypto markets are ready for like a multiplier effects in which you have 20 in reserves and you are issuing 100 on top of that. It will come one day, mostly under the form of CBDCs, but this is another risk. And the last risk, as I said, is the censorship risk. Like, let's say there is an entity which decides to blacklist me because, I don't know, I've participated in Forex leverage trading at Angle. Well, Tether could decide, oh, look, we're going to censor all the assets, the USDT from this address, and this address will no longer be able to spend its asset. And with decentralized stablecoins, it's a risk you don't have because it's permissionless money. Like anyone anyone can spend it without an agreement for any other people. So it's typically like a free system. It comes with its risk, like in the economical models, but you don't have to worry about trustlessness, censorship resistance, and regulatory risks.
Okay, we understand from your speech, Pablo, that decentralized stablecoin and fiat-pegged stablecoin have, in both ways, there is some risk that exist, but they are not the same kind of risk, and you can not do the same things regarding regulation. I mean, it will be maybe more on the bridge between the stablecoin and the retail, for instance. And with a centralized stablecoin, you have maybe the ability to implement the regulation directly as an issuer. I let you answer. Which one want to talk?
No, maybe you want to.
No?
Yeah, so I think the issue there, too, is that regulators aren't quite sure how to approach the oversight of decentralized stablecoins, so it's a bit of a gray area at the moment. And we are seeing a swath of legislation around how centralized and fiat-backed stablecoins should be regulated, and principles around how the reserves should be held, where they should be held, how they can be hypothecated, not at all. Can they be lent? No, not at all. So, MiCA has some very clear rules for how fiat-backed stablecoins will be overseen. And that's at the prudential level. So going back to your question about e-money, I think that's one of the major changes that we're seeing, is that stablecoins are being seen now as financial market infrastructure, which is significantly different than e-money. And the governance mechanisms for financial market infrastructure are much greater at a prudential level, the same way that a bank would be regulated. So yes, to be able to offer that level of, a lot of people would argue that provides trust and confidence to people, if you believe in the banking system, that they're not going to go under. But equally, that also provides for a significant amount of regulatory obligation, right? And so somebody like Circle does need to be able to demonstrate that we've done our KYC, that we understand, the AML risks, that we employ risk management strategies that protect a run against our stablecoin, for example. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and maybe Victor or Samuel, you want to bounce back on what Tina told about MiCA? Is MiCA? I understand from your point of view that MiCA, if I understand well, doesn't use the right level of regulation for stablecoin issuer, or it's a choice that is very constraining.
Well, I think that what MiCA provides is clarity and consistency across 27 member states, and that's a good thing. Specific to stablecoins, there's a couple of things that I think are going to be problematic to implement and to enforce. So, for example, there is a daily transaction cap of 200 million euros. And one, I just don't see how they're going to manage that. Two, in my opinion, it was a reaction to nervousness around a corporate coin like Libra, basically disintermediating sovereign money, the euro. And, MiCA is very specific that a number of the parameters that they've put in place are to protect monetary sovereignty. So they're not even being coy about it, right? I think the other element that at the time seemed onerous, but now we're starting to see consistently across other jurisdictions, the dual regulation. So the issuing and the payment, facilitation of payment transactions is still considered e-money, so will be regulated at a local level by the AMF, for example. And the financial market infrastructure element will be overseen by the EBA, the prudential regulator. So you have two regulators. The UK is also considering this model, a dual model with the FCA and the Bank of England. And we're seeing legislation proposed in the US probably next week that will take that same approach. So you'll be regulated at a state level potentially, and then you'll have this federal wrapper in addition, and systemic stablecoins will have to have an account at the Fed. So I think that going back to MiCA, it kind of set a bit of a trend. And I think there is a balance between ensuring that we have the money in the bank that we say that we do, that it isn't lent out, that people can redeem those funds, in a balance with understanding that financial market infrastructure for crypto assets is considerably different than traditional banking. So we use open source public blockchains for our rails, unlike Visa or MasterCard, who are also financial market infrastructure who own their rails. So that's a major difference.
Victor or Samuel, you want to?
Yeah, about MiCA, it seems now very probable, very likely that there will be a split in the market between unregulated stablecoins that will be used by traders and people mostly in DeFi, either to make payments or to trade or generate yield, and regulated stablecoins. I don't really see any way right now that the stablecoins that are massively used in the market, the ones like DAI, USDT, and probably USDC too, will get that exact regulatory status that they would need under MiCA and will be able to be fully usable on-chain with a full transferability and no whitelist and no constraints of that kind. So yeah, I think that the future is probably like a split of the stablecoin market.
Samuel, from Israel, what is your view on stablecoin regulation? You are in line with, there is something happening in Israel, or you are in line with you following what happened in Europe and US maybe?
So not much happening regarding stablecoins in Israel. It's a small market, and there are some discussions about the Israeli, the digital shekel with the central bank, but commercial issuers are not going to be soon likely. I think in general it seems that I was pretty fine with the old-fashioned e-money framework for stablecoins, which was just working well for issuers, and in this case the lack of regulations was useful for the industry to allow the distribution over transaction over decentralized protocol. So it kind of made sense, but it seems like there were some flaws. So it will take some years to develop the right framework, but interesting to watch, I would say.
Okay, great. You want to?
The one thing I'll say too is that if you have the global regulatory community looking at this asset construction, and then something like UST happens, I mean, it is just like a red rag to a bull, right? So I hate to sound like, an old woman, but we also need to stop giving regulators the fuel to substantiate their skepticism, right? Like the market just crashed out. And as a number of people have said, anyone could have predicted that that was going to happen. So it's not a good look. And you can see why they're taking additional steps.
Yeah, it was part of my introduction to this panel. It's the recent event, like market event, but also the massification is fueling the regulator activity. Pablo, last question for you. It's what is your view on the upcoming regulation as an algorithm stablecoin? So we understand that you are a very different architecture than centralized one. You are more close to a software provider, implying some economical risk, of course. So what is your plan regarding MiCA, for instance? If you have one.
The plan is not defined yet. I don't think MiCA at the moment, there are still some blurry areas which need to be defined. There is a DeFi exemption, but they also said that the regulation for stablecoins is going to be applied to algorithmic stablecoins, but algorithmic stablecoins are part of DeFi, so we don't know where we will fit in that scope. Now, like, our plan is to bring value that centralized stablecoins cannot bring. Like centralized stablecoins, they are more efficient and more efficient form of e-money because it's easy to on-ramp and off-ramp, one super efficient. But what do we bring with decentralized stablecoins? We bring transparency. We bring, like as I said before, you don't need to trust the protocol. You can just look at the code. And we also bring some form of regulatory edge. So our take at Angle is to be on the line in terms of yield opportunities we're going to provide. Like for instance, I guess Tether, but maybe also Circle may own treasury bills in their reserves, but they cannot give the yield of these treasury bills to their stablecoin holders, since MiCA is going to prevent stablecoin issuers from like giving yield, native yield, on the stablecoins. But on our side, we could back Angle by tokenized treasury bills and take advantage of the yield of these tokenized treasury bills to give a yield to AG euro holders or to the other stablecoins we should do in the future. And so it's the regulatory arbitrage we want to play, take advantage of the edge we have as decentralized stablecoins, and provide value, still keep providing value to DeFi users who are here for the core premise of DeFi, like building a new financial ecosystem in which you can remove intermediaries and so on. So yeah, that's our position. We're kind of pragmatic, but know that we have a play at stake, a potentially good play to do with MiCA.
Thank you very much. We have to close this passionate panel. Thank you very much for your participation, Teana, Victor, Samuel, and Pablo. And if you have maybe one question, okay, Amstramgram, or you? Okay.
Just to follow up from what Konrad said. So, for instance, Circle is an American company. Are they going to comply with since they're issuing euro, are they going to comply with the local regulations? Are they going to follow the MiCA framework, get the right licenses in Europe, or the plan is to stay in the most convenient jurisdiction?
Yes, we will comply with the MiCA regulations and set up operations in Europe. Circle is a very regulatory compliant company. There's no question that we will approach it when it's available.
Yeah, this is really interesting because, again, coming back on the tax aspect, if at any point in the future, stablecoins like the ones of Circle qualify as electronic money, trading with them would create tax events. So this could mean like the usability of this kind of stablecoins would be very different. They would be very useful to make payments for like real world expenses, but for trading crypto, it would be very different. So I'll wait and see.
Thank you very much. If you have any further question, I think you can ask to Samuel, Victor, and Teana and Pablo just after this panel, and we will switch to the next one about NFT. If you want to stay with us in this nice little room.